All right, everyone, welcome back to Getting In a College Coach Conversation. As you can see, if you're watching this on video, I've got two guests joining us for this second segment. And we are fortunate today to have leveraged the network of one of our admissions experts to bring in a couple of alumni of the CSU system. Joining us today, we've got Alethea Gagas and Jess Stainer. Now, Alethea, I want to start with you. Where did you grow up? Which of the CSUs did you attend?
Um, well, thank you for having me, first of
Glad to
all.
have you.
I'm happy to be here. I come from a very small mountain community in Southern California, called Idlewild, California.
Mhm.
And I grew up there for the majority of my life, but went to high school in Hemet, California. And from there, I followed my journey towards Los Angeles and went to Los Angeles, Cal State Los Angeles.
Okay. And where do you live now? Are you still in LA?
I am in the Los Angeles area, yes.
Okay. So you started in a small mountain community and are now in the second largest city in the country.
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay. All right. So maybe New York, that if you're trending in that direction one day, but if you're going to stay in California, you're about as big as you can get.
I love California. Up until the past couple of weeks, nothing beats the weather.
Yeah,
So.
that is definitely true. That is definitely true. And Jess, I think a lot of people have this perception that if you go to a Cal State, that you are anchored to California forever. Maybe not just by choice, like Alethea has chosen, but that you're there. But what about you? What's your story? Where are you from? Which CSU did you attend, and where are you now?
Yeah, so you definitely can leave California after attending
Okay,
school
good. That's
there
good
and
for
living
people
your
to
whole
know.
life there.
It's not in the contract.
It's not on the contract, thankfully. Yeah. So I actually grew up in Hemet, California, where Alethea went to high school. That's actually where we know each other from. So it's kind of fun. But I went a little bit further than she did. I traveled up the coast of California a little bit, and I actually landed at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo.
Okay.
So one of the more particular CSUs, if you will, since there's only two of them. And when I got there, I initially was a computer science major, and then I kind of switched around a little bit. So I had my fair share of time while I was there.
And now you are not in California, correct?
I am not, correct. I live just outside of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. I've lived here for about 8 years now.
Awesome. So you had your California experience. You're now trying things out on the East Coast. And if you've been there for 8 years, it seems like it's going pretty well.
Yeah, the weather's a lot better in California. I'll give Alethea that, but it has its perks being out here close to the nation's capital as well. So,
and one of the things that we were just talking about in our prior segment, I had one of my colleagues on, and we were talking about the CSU system as a whole and how strong it is in terms of helping students to prepare for careers that they might want to pursue, to get ready for, in some ways being trained for the job market. Now, I'm curious what your perspective is on that. Coming in, did you study exactly what you thought you were going to study? And what was the experience of getting that training so that you felt ready for whatever career path you were going to take coming on in? Alethea, why don't you start?
Well, originally when I was applying to schools, I was aiming for UCLA. That was like where I wanted to go. And
Yeah.
I did get accepted into the university, but looking at the cost comparisons between the Cal States and the UC system, I actually sat down with a few of the professors at UCLA, and they shared with me that the majority of their administration worked in the Cal State system as well. And we would get a little more focus on us. We'd get a little more hands-on experience in regards to what we wanted to do with our chosen path. I received a degree in telecommunications, film, and media studies, along with a minor in behavioral psychology.
Cool.
So at Cal State LA, I was able to receive both of those degrees in my short time there because I was able to get into the classes I wanted, because I was able to advocate for myself one-on-one with not only the professors, but also the administration to allow me to take courses that they normally wouldn't offer to a first year or a second year who were coming into the school. And I did end up in the film industry. That was my
Cool.
goal all along. I did have a focus in producing and writing at the time
Mhm.
there. And the years following school, I went into the independent world, worked with some of the studios and produced lower budgets, and then ultimately found myself moving into the network side of the television industry. And now I'm with the studio, and I've been with the Walt Disney Studios for the past 2.5 years with what I'm doing. At
Cool.
Cal State LA, I liked it and preferred it because smaller classes, there were more opportunities that came up that you were able to take advantage of, in my opinion.
Mhm.
It was still competitive, but it wasn't we're taking one versus we can take 5 of you into whatever you're looking into. And I also have this overall sense that looking at colleagues of mine and friends of mine who are employed after school versus now, a lot of people came out of the Cal State system were a little more successful because they were willing to take. And I don't mean anything against anyone who did not
Yeah,
go to a Cal State,
it's fine.
but they were
Disclaimer.
they hustled a little more.
Yeah.
They understood that they needed to get in and hit the ground running. And that may just be a personality trait or a commonality among those who went there, and that's not just, I'm not saying everyone was like that, but that's the observation that I've seen over the years.
I love that. I mean, there are a couple of things that I picked up there. One is that you can draw a direct line from your program of study to your career. There's a real strong connection between what you did in college and what you're doing professionally now. I also love to hear the ability to say, I got into 2 different schools, and now I can actually really carefully look at what am I going to do there? Who am I going to work with? What's the environment going to be like? And I think that's such an important lesson for students who are considering colleges to think about. Most people might just say, yeah, of course, UCLA. I would always choose UCLA over Cal State Los Angeles. But you've given really good reasons why, especially in your circumstance, that wasn't the right call for you. And the hustle piece, I think, is huge. I was talking to a family just yesterday about how important it is to be a student that shows that hustle and how much that contributes to your success, much more than the name on the degree at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love also this description of flexibility. And Jess, I'm curious for you, because you said you changed your major at some point in Cal Poly. I think there's a perception that if you get into a CSU, that you're really in a pipeline for the major you've applied for. But your experience is showing that actually there's some flexibility and some adjustment that you can have. Can you talk a little bit about that experience of how you made a decision to pivot when you were in college and what that pivot has meant for you professionally afterward?
Yeah. So when I first applied to colleges, I really wanted to build, it's very specific. I wanted to build flight simulation software for the military. That was what I wanted to do. I love planes. I've always loved planes, but I also love computers. And so I thought, well, this is a great way to merge my 2 interests. Fantastic. I got approximately, Cal Poly runs on the quarter system, right, at the time. And so I got 3 months into my college career, and I thought, I have chosen incorrectly. I had taken some computer science classes in high school, and I loved them. And then I got to Cal Poly, and I thought, wow, I am no longer the smartest person in the classroom. There are a lot of very intelligent people here doing this much better than I can, which with much less effort. And it was at that moment I thought, well, I still love computers, but I'm not happy. This isn't what I want to do, but I don't know what I want to do. So I waffled around a little bit, and I actually found myself in the Career Services Center talking to a counselor. And I said just that. I don't know where to go with my life. I want help. Can you steer me in the right direction to figure out what that might be for me? And she was very gracious, right around that time. It was right after the Great Recession, 2010-ish. And so she said, well, why don't you check this book out? This is all career paths that are expected to be really good in the next 10 years. Take a look. And I grew up also having an interest in law enforcement and things of that nature. And so when I was flipping through this book, I found the term computer forensics. And I thought, wow, that sounds really cool. And so I delved down that a little bit deeper. And at the time, Cal Poly was piloting a new interdisciplinary major called Liberal Arts and Engineering Studies. And it was a real mix of the College of Engineering and the College of Liberal Arts, as the name would suggest. But the philosophy was that engineering really grows and is fostered by understanding the arts and your contributions to it. And so it was being piloted at the time, and they were looking for willing candidates to sort of be one of the first of 2 graduating classes. And so I thought, I wonder if this is for me. So I met with the professors who were piloting the program, and I told them about computer forensics, and they said, great, come on over. So I spent the next 2 years having an individualized course of study for computer forensics. So I took computer science classes, and then on the other side, I took criminal justice, law classes, things of that nature. And then I went right into it. I graduated right after that. I started with a small firm on the Central Coast, and slowly made my way over to the East Coast, where I've worked, like I said, for about 8 years now, doing computer forensics. I've never done anything else, and I love every day of it. It's still a challenge. It's still really fun. And so, I think being at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, or to not say that mouthful every time, Cal Poly SLO, it really allowed me to have that opportunity to question why I was there and know that there was another way to go about getting my education and being happy while I did it. I didn't have to trudge through the classes just to get the paper at the end. You could enjoy your time there too. And I think if I had gone to some of my other choices, I don't know that I would have gotten that level of attention and that opportunity to sort of discover who I was and what I wanted to be when I left there, which was really the rest of your life. So I think that's more important than anything.
It's really cool. I commented on Alethea really seeming to have a straight line, and yours seems a little bit more of a zigzag, or there was a pivot where you went off in a different kind of direction. But I'm also really struck how both of you are talking about individualized support and attention and connection with faculty. I think a lot of people perceive the CSUs to be degree mills in some way. They're big, they've got lots of students, you come in, you don't get to know anybody, and then you're out the other side with your degree. Can you give some more, what was your sense of the reality of that? Did you feel like you could always reach out and find a professor, that you felt like there were resources to support you? How would you characterize that experience? Alethea, why don't you start there?
Yeah, I always felt like even if it was our counselors or whoever our admin was overwhelmed or had a lot of students, I could always reach out to one of my professors or someone else who's within the department, and never doubted that I would get a response or get the attention that I needed. I would always have at least one advocate on that team, to where if I couldn't get one person on the phone, they'd say, let's go get coffee, let's go talk, what's going on. And really gave you that one-on-one attention, versus just, it's office hours, come in, you have 5 minutes, great, we've done the check, you've told me what's going on, here's a checkbox, here's your one sheet with information, talk to you in 3 months. And that really helped, because I was also a commuter. It being at Cal State LA is a commuter school, so I didn't get the on-campus life that a lot of other people got, and building those lasting relationships and having someone who's like, we understand you're not here, you may not be on campus 24/7 and be able to walk over because you're holding down a job and you have other responsibilities going on. That's I think one of the top things I took out of that experience, and I was grateful for.
Jess?
Yeah, and I can kind of echo what Alethea was saying. Whenever I would come to office hours, and I was an office hour person, I was always at office hours, talking to the professors, just connecting with them, trying to do the best I could. And I remember distinctly a very, very quick story that I was in a computer science class, and I was in way over my head, and I brought my computer almost in tears to my professor, and I said, I don't understand this error, will you please help me? And he actually sat down next to me at his desk. He had me pull up a chair, and we went through my program line by line, and he took probably about 45 minutes. And when I was done, I was just so grateful that he wasn't, he didn't just shoo me away. It was like, well, your programming, that's how you learn. He actually could see that I really needed help, and he took the time to sit down and give me the attention I needed. And I don't know that I would have gotten that at a few of the other places I had been considering. So it was really important to me.
It's great. I think there are two things here. I think that one, you're both illustrating the possibilities at a CSU if you take advantage of it. But I think I hope also our listeners are recognizing we've got two really successful women here who found, success in different kinds of industries, but you both are really committed to learning, to stepping up, to asking for help, to seeking out mentors. That's a very important mindset to have no matter where it is that you go to school. And you're showing that at the CSUs that there's also the opportunity to be successful. I'm curious about each of you. You went to very different campuses. You had different experiences. Jess, am I correct in assuming you lived on campus, whereas Alethea was? Okay, so you were an on-campus student. What's your sense of connection to the CSU system? Are you only connected to your campus, or is there a sense of pride about the entirety of the system?
Jesse,
I mean, I'll go and say that both me and all my siblings have been in or are currently attending a CSU. So I definitely have a connection to it. I will always love Cal Poly, SLO, not Pomona, over anything in the CSU system, but I do have a love for it, and I have a big respect for it. I would not be where I am today without the CSU system at large, for sure.
Cool.
I think there's you automatically, in my case, you feel that connection and that network across the board, because even when I was in school, there were other individuals going to other Cal States who were experiencing the same thing, and we utilized resources that were shared within the network. And then coming out of school, and meeting people and working with individuals, there's a sense of, I don't want to sound corny, but like a family of sense, because it's like, well, we went to the Cal States, like this is like we know what's up here, you're gonna do good, okay, come over here, versus any other school. And being able to just see a Cal State in the rankings with these, we'll say, quote unquote, more prestigious schools is always, it puts a smile on my face. Like my husband went to Cal State through the Cal State system as well, and we've just met so many great individuals who've come out of it and done great things.
This is great. I mean, you're obviously a sample size of only two, but I think that the experience that you've had sounds very resonant and sounds like something that is there for students to take. I want to just give you a final opportunity before we close this segment. If you could give a piece of advice to a student who is considering colleges, is applying this year, whether that's related to where they would consider or just any mindset that you think they ought to have, what kind of advice would you give? Jess, you're ready. You look ready.
Yeah. My mindset would be, don't worry so much about the piece of paper, because you worry more about where you're going to be happy. College can be a really tumultuous time in your life. You're away from home, you're learning how to be you, you're figuring out who you is at the same time. And I think so many people try and find, well, what's going to look best on my resume when I graduate? And that's great, and that should be a component, but don't forget about yourself and who you are in the process, and finding where you fit for the next 4 years, because it's going to go by way faster than you think.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Alethea?
I think mine would be, think about what you actually want to do and how much experience you want before going into the outside world, the workforce, because it's just like Jess said, don't think about that just the paper, because you may come out of a Ivy League, or we'll say UCLA, and yes, you have that degree, but you didn't actually get that hands-on experience that you would most likely get out of Cal State. So just weighing those two things, I think.
That's great.
Thanks.
Great pair of considerations for students to keep in mind. And it was really great talking to both of you and hearing a little bit about your CSU experience. I want to say thanks again for being here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks.
thank you.
All right, folks, when we come back, we are going to talk about some teacher loan forgiveness programs in different states. So talking a little bit about finance. Don't go away. We'll be right back.